because I finally remembered to post a TikTok about the fact that we do this. Sorry, I tried to pick up my phone. I forgot it was plugged in. Let me make sure my mic is correct. How's everyone feeling out there tonight? Okay, perfect. We're loving. I just did my lashes in 4 minutes, and I feel like they kind of turned out a little bit like American Girl doll-esque, but that's okay. Like I said, exciting topic. I've been wanting to talk about this for a minute. I just bought this today at Michael's, the craft store. Well, the tiara I already had, but the pink skull is new. I love it. The Mr. Redacted sign's going to go right here, so it might end up getting moved to somewhere else, but I love it. You were binge watching my videos? Thanks. I've been looking forward to your stream. Good. I'm happy you're here. Let me make sure I have the multi-stream ad. I heard you had a YouTube and immediately binged all your previous streams. Hello, class. Oh my god, is it your first time here live? Well, it's your first time chat. Rich Pichu. I literally just ate dinner, but it was like kind of mid. Like, I made it, and it was like, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. So I had like a couple bites, and I was like, yeah, I'm full. But now I'm kind of hungry again. I guess I can shove cereal after this. I have literally been running around like an insane person. Welcome to the pipeline. Welcome to the pipeline. The pipeline is usually Twitch to YouTube, or TikTok to YouTube to Twitch. Some people go straight from TikTok to Twitch. Some people rarely find me on YouTube first. I skip my run to come to class. Real. I'm an advocate of exercise, but real. I do not watch Love Island. I've seen it. It's just a little bit too much for me. Like, I like it, and I'm not against watching it, but it's just too much to keep up with for right now. And I tried to watch it, and it's confusing because there's like challenges, but then you can be eliminated if you're single, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I watched like 5 or 6 episodes of a season, maybe like 4 years ago, like 3 years ago. And I was like, I get it. Like, I see why people like this, and I could see myself liking this, but it's just too much for me to entertain right now. It's fun seeing the ones from years back and seeing your character growth. Oh my god, really? Have I grown? I feel like I've gotten dumber, which I kind of needed. Like, I needed to take some points off. I'm curious to hear your perspective on that, though. But anyway, sorry, I burped. What are we here to talk about? California's Border Patrol during the Great Depression. We also are going to be talking, like, in context to why this happened, obviously. I'm not just going to, like, jump straight into day 1 of the Border Patrol. We'll be talking about, like, what led up to this. Next week, we're going to be talking about... I should have done this in a different order, but honestly, oops, whatever. So do you remember last week when we talked about 1960s culture and, like, all, like, the anti-war and, like, the youth movement and civil rights and women's rights and stuff like that? This is kind of part 2 of that, because in the 70s there was a lot of backlash to that and like a return to conservatism and like the Reagan times, and like evangelical Christianity got a lot bigger and things like that. So like I said, I should have done them back to back, but that's just not how it worked out. Diva, you make me feel more sane in my teaching style. I don't know if sane is the word I would use for myself. My only request is to make the memes big at the end so we can see it in relaunch. Switch from Twitch so I could stream from my TV. Real. That's why I started streaming onto YouTube. I want to set up TikTok again, but I just literally get banned constantly, and that's why it's not set up, because every time I get banned, I have to re-add it, and then last time I re-added it, it had an error message, and then they emailed me, and then I emailed them back, and I don't know if they ever email me back because my email is a shit show. And every week I think of it right at this exact moment, and you obviously can't do it while you're live. So here, and this light is just really bright. Like, I just need everybody to calm. No, not off. Ooh, not that either. There we go. I just want it. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down. Like, the big light wasn't needed. The big light was not needed. Focus. Everyone focus. So if there's mistakes here, I'm sorry. I low-key procrastinated this because we're having a party this weekend. So, like, everyone is coming into town. So that's why I've been running around like a crazy person all day. So I've been, like, cleaning my house. And I don't know why... I do stream. This is also being streamed to YouTube. It's like both of them are one time. So I have like 2 chats on my screen. So anyway, I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. It's because of my childhood. Whenever people come to my house, I panic. Like, they're literally going to look in every single closet and open every single drawer, and like they're going to take me to jail if something's awry. So that's what's been happening here. But low key, I'm fucking obsessed with my house. Like, if you've seen my videos, I've been on Facebook Marketplace. And today, like, everything's coming together. I'm going to get a spray tan tomorrow. That's why I had to take my everything shower right now. Like, it's all coming together. That being said, I wanted to make these further in advance. I made them last night / this morning, so I did not get to proofread them. So if there are any mistakes, I deeply apologize. But I think they're fine. I like skimmed it right before I went live, and it was like pretty okay. So I think we'll be fine. But just like don't do that. What are you doing for the holiday? Feeling patriotic? Well, like, coincidentally, people are just coming into town for this weekend. Our party's not even on the 4th of July. It's like later on in the weekend. So what are we doing? We're going to a family member's house, and they're having like a dinner barbecue thing with everybody. But it's like not for the 4th of July. You know what is it? I kind of forgot that that's happening just because like all my own shit is happening. So before I can tell you about the Border Patrol, you need to know what the Great Depression is. Also, I think we have a lot of first-time people here tonight. If you are a first-time people here tonight, just know you do not have to watch all of my streams. Like, you can jump in one week and be totally fine. That's kind of how I do things. So I have streamed about the Great Depression before. So for some of you, I don't copy the slides, but some of you probably already know this. And if you're like, I don't know what that is. Like, I've been working in a mine since I was a child, and I don't know about the Great Depression. Let me give it to you. I love the 4th, not for America, but because there's a bar and a parade. That's what I mean. The 4th is my favorite holiday in terms of like the vibe, because it like there's not like a ton of family traditions and like weird emotional shit. And then like I like summer, I like boats, I like swimming, I like drinking. So like it's just a grand old time. So anyway, the Great Depression. Are we going to have another one soon? Who's to say? This was a severe global economic downturn that lasted for about 10 years, 1929 to 1939. The period was characterized by high rates of unemployment, poverty, drastic reductions in industrial production and international trade, widespread bank and business failures. So a bank failure means the bank ran out of money. So when you have an account at the bank and you're like, hi, I'd like to take my money out of my account, the bank was like, oh, we don't have that. And that was like not illegal. Like, we didn't have the FDIC back then. So it was like really not good. If you want to know more, I have 2 whole ass streams about it, I think. So anyway, the kind of beginning of the Great Depression was the stock market crash in October 1929. It was called Black Tuesday. But shit had kind of been building for a little while. Very much similar vibes to today, in my opinion. So y'all know, like, Afterpay and Carvana and stuff like that, they had the first installment buying. So obviously theirs was not like an app. You had to like write a check. But late 1920s, people started defaulting on those, and that was kind of like the canary in the coal mine, like, hey, this is not good. And then what also was happening is like there was a lot of scheming and scamming going on in the stock market. So there were like really weirdly inflated prices that were like not accurate at all. And then what's really scary to think about, but I am going to bring up, because if I'm going to think about it, you have to too. There was a pandemic, the pandemic of 1918. And then fascism was like strongly on the rise after that pandemic. It was not a US pandemic, it was a global pandemic. And then like fascism was on the rise in Europe throughout the 1920s. And then the Great Depression happened in the 1930s. Doesn't that sound so familiar? Doesn't that just sound so interesting for what's happening right now? Much to think about. So, the context. Why did this happen? I kind of just told you, but let's get more into it. There's a lot of memes in here tonight. I was like moving and grooving and really feeling myself in this moment. So the Great Depression is preceded means before, really rapid industrial growth known as the Roaring 20s. Lots of the profit was because of, like I said, speculation in the stock market. So there is like a lot of really overinflated stock prices because people are getting competitive when, like, is that company actually worth that much? Probably not. And there were a lot of stockbrokers literally like scamming people. I'm watching Boardwalk Empire right now, and that's going on. Don't tell me anything. I'm almost done with it. So anyway, there was also a lot of wealth inequality. At this point, rich people were not paying a ton in taxes. Taxes were like relatively low because they were like very laissez-faire government. That was their idea. If we're hands-off, laissez-faire, what I tell my class is laissez-faire means lazy. It means literally hands-off, but I tell them lazy is easier to remember because it sounds more like. And so the government is not regulating things, not having very high taxes on businesses or millionaires or billionaires or anyone like that. The banks did not have regulations at all. So like I could have no money and be in a ton of debt, and I could be like, can I get a loan for a car? And they'd be like, yeah. So then when I couldn't pay that back, the people whose money was in the bank, like that was their money. That's how banks work. They loan other people's money to you. Sean Merriman had the scene. So you basically, irresponsible banking, irresponsible lending, irresponsible stock speculation. It also used to be 100% legal for when are people going to learn I'm busy every Tuesday? Like I've been busy every Tuesday for years now. We can remember, people, not you all, real life people. So anyway, what was I saying? See, now I forgot. God damn it. Okay, I'm thinking. What the fuck was I saying? I don't remember. Thanks for that, because I know they did help us in the war. That was kind of cool of them. But yeah, the stock market was not being regulated. Oh, I remember what I was saying. It used to be legal to go into debt to buy stocks. So like I could go to a bank and be like, can I have $500? And then I would go invest that $500 in the stock market, lose all of it because I'm an idiot. And then the bank would be like, can we have that $500? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know what happened. You know, really not good. So by 1929, there had already been a decline in spending. So before the stock market crashed, they were having layoffs. There was a reduction in manufacturing output because keep in mind, another thing in the 1920s, there's a lot of technological advancement. It becomes common for people to have refrigerators. I think they called them ice boxes, radios, telephones, things like that. So in the early 1920s, everyone's like, buy. So the companies are like, oh my God, we have so much demand. Let's keep making stuff. But do you buy a new refrigerator every year? Do you buy a new phone every year? No, you don't. So by the late 1920s, people were like, I have a vacuum, I have a refrigerator, I have new furniture. Like, I'm good. And this is back when they used to make stuff like kind of better, so it would like last a while. So yeah, basically our economy was just like not doing so hot. So share values continued to rise until October 1929, and then they basically crashed by, overconsumption core for fucking real. Oh, I went out for a sec, but I'm back. Interesting. By 1933, U.S. unemployment had risen to 25%. 1 out of every 4 people did not have a job. 1/3 of farmers lost their land. 9,000 banks had gone out of business. And President Herbert Hoover, I call him Hoover because he sucks, like the vacuum. He literally didn't do anything. He was like, yeah, we're not going to do that. He was like, he literally said, like, the American people are so hardworking that they will get themselves out of this crisis. Like, what a bitch. And then in 1930, the one thing he did was pass tariffs. I know, it's literally so scary. Isn't that so scary? He passed tariffs, which made everything 1,000 times fucking worse because then everything got more expensive because he was like, oh, American business, this is going to sound so familiar. It literally makes me want to throw up. American businesses are struggling. Let's put tariffs on foreign goods so more people buy American goods. And then the foreign countries were like, fuck you, bitch. And they stopped buying our stuff and put tariffs on our goods. So our sales plummeted and things we needed got more expensive. It's just been long enough that like pretty much everyone who lived through this is dead. But I'm here talking about it. So when we're eating sand in 3 years, remember this. Hoover said, what am I supposed to do? I'm just the president. So in 1932, he lost the election because obviously, like, also they opened fire at veterans asking for money. That wasn't good either. He lost to FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. FDR is the one who did the New Deal. In Germany, they were having that political extremism. This is when the Nazi Party was rising. They came to power in 1933. So just to give you a vibe check of like what's happening at the time that this California shit's going on. So worldwide GDP fell by 15% and the US's fell by 30%. So even though it was a global depression, the US was hit particularly hard. One country that apparently was like kind of vibing and okay was Spain. Apparently because they didn't do that much international trade, they were like less suffering. I heard that and read it somewhere. I don't really know the details about it, but go Spain, I guess. So surely it can't get worse. Surely it can't get worse. Wrong. Dust. I know. Dust. Do you think the president paid attention in history class? Do you think if he had, he would have threatened to sue his school over sharing his transcript? I think someone that does not want their transcript out is generally someone who was not great with academic achievement. That's what I'll say. So dust. I think Spain's dictatorship started right after this, so maybe not go Spain. Oh. Maybe that's why they weren't affected. The dictator protected them? ? The Grapes of Wrath has entered the chat. I know the Grapes of Wrath is like extremely, extremely relevant to this. I unfortunately have not read it. Maybe I will. I'd never really considered it until people said that. I knew it was about the Depression, but people said it's good and it's like about this. So now I'm kind of into it. I feel like you just glossed over the fired at veterans thing. Okay, I'll tell you. God, all of these could be separate streams. Like they haven't already been. So basically, there was a group of World War I veterans, and they were supposed to get a bonus. Like years after the war, they were supposed to get a bonus. But because it was the middle of the Great Depression, and they were like really suffering, homeless, starving, PTSD, back then they called it shell shock, all of the horrible things, they did a march to Washington, literally like a caravan across the country, to go to Washington, D.C., and go ask Congress, can we have our bonus early? Not can we have more, not we want money for nothing, just you owe us this money on this agreed upon schedule. Can we have it early? Will Congress pass a law to pay us early? Because we are suffering so bad. These are veterans. A lot of them are missing limbs. A lot of them are horribly disfigured from World War I. A lot of them are burn victims. So Congress is like, we don't think so. So they basically just start camping in Washington, D.C., like in front of Congress, in front of the White House. They're like, we're just going to stay here because we're literally homeless. So like, why would I get back on a caravan to go be homeless somewhere else? You know? And then President Hoover was like, they got to get up out of there. And they were like, no. And then he sent in the National Guard and they killed multiple people and burned all of their tents. So that also is why he lost the election. It's generally not a good look to burn down and shoot homeless veterans' tents. It's jarring how many times it's happened. But yeah, so that's another reason why people hated Hoover. So anyway, our main focus of tonight, dust. Not good. Not only do we have the Great Depression in the 1930s, the Dust Bowl happened. Incredible timing. Incredible timing. This was a period of severe dust storms that greatly damaged the ecology and the agriculture of America and Canada in the prairie region. Prairies is like where it's flat and it's grassy during the 1930s. This is a real photo. Can you fucking imagine? Can you imagine being those two people who stepped outside their house and it's just fucking dust? Dust. Treatment of veterans in the U.S. is so interesting to me, given the propaganda. It really, really is. So it's not good. There's just a lot of fucking dust. Why does this happen? Does it dust randomly? Do we have to worry about this happening again? Yes and no. This phenomenon is caused by a combination of natural factors and human factors. So one, there was a very, very, very severe drought. A drought means it's not raining. Very severe drought that went on for a very long time. That is the nature factor that is not within our control. the stuff that was within our control was basically we were not doing farming correctly. So you're supposed to do crop rotation, and you're supposed to have what's called dry land farming methods, which is like crop rotation and planting multiple things together and giving the dirt a break for some seasons, like not planting anything sometimes. So they had eroded away a lot of the topsoil. So that nice, dark, moist, rich soil is dried out from the drought, and a lot of it is eroded away, and we're left with this like thin, dry, kind of silty, sandy soil, because they were just like year after year, wheat, or like corn. So that's not good for dirt. My guess is we still don't farm correctly. We don't. There's a little better like technology to fix these things, and they're a little more aware of it, but like we're still not doing nearly as well as we should be. It is improved from this time, but it's not good. So the drought came in 3 waves. Incredible timing, I know. 1934, 1936, and 1939. So the whole fucking time. The whole time of the Great Depression. Awesome. Some of them experienced drought conditions for as long as 8 years. So could this happen again? Yes. Will it? Maybe. Who's to say? Really makes you think how we could have avoided this if we had not committed a genocide against the native people of this land and instead observed their highly informed farming practices. Because the indigenous people to the United States, usually called Native Americans, not going to use the outdated terms, they had been cultivating food on this land for generations and generations and generations. So all these things about planting things together and giving the soil a break and moving around, like it's not like no one knew. Like they simply did not ask, you know? Because like I said, natives had literally been cultivating the land and growing food and feeding people for generations without, I'm sure they had natural like droughts and things like that, but not to this extent. Why would we do something logical or smart? Couldn't be us. Pretty sure natives have been in California for 10,000 years. Yeah, exactly. It's like literally the expert was already here and you killed them. And now you're dying because of the dust. That's the other thing about the dust. I'll show you pictures. If you walked outside, you'd suffocated and died a lot of the time, because when you breathe, it's so much dust that it'll start to fill up your lungs and you suffocate and die. Even if you don't suffocate and die, it can cause extreme blistering on your skin. You know, if you're like at the beach and it's really windy, how it kind of hurts. Think that like times a million. People know how to exist in areas they're indigenous to. Colonization doesn't give a fuck about that. So let's talk about the human factors. They planted, like I said, wheat year after year without rotating them, which drains the soil of nutrients. They did not use cover crops. So apparently you're supposed to plant like fucking clovers or something like that to help the soil like be safe. But when you leave the soil, like when you till all the soil and just leave it all exposed, the rain can wash it away easier. The wind can pick it up easier. It's just like not good. No wind breaks or contour plowing. So I guess you're supposed to plant in like a contour, like little different shapes so that the wind is, you don't create a wind tunnel. Because when you have all these straight ass things, I think it makes like a wind tunnel. So you need to like make it so the wind is working with you, not against you. So Native American farming practices, like I said, included crop rotation. They also, I don't know if you can do this in this exact area, but I believe you can. The native communities often planted what they call, well, not in English, but the 3 sister crops, which are corns, beans, and squash, because those crops together literally will like grow intertwined with each other, and they support the soil and reduce erosion, because basically every type of crop needs different things from the soil. So if I plant wheat every single years, all the nutrients that wheat needs are completely depleted because nothing else is coming in. But if you plant multiple things, they can like help feed off each other and keep the soil balanced. And again, I'm not a scientist. This is from like some pretty basic research, so I'm sure it's an oversimplification. And native people also preserved native grasses that held the soil in place. So like I said, it's a prairie, think grassland. That grass is there to help hold the soil down. So when you just chop all of it down and till all the soil, like that's not good. So the Homestead Act strikes again. This we've already talked about some. There was a lot of people out there because back during the Civil War, the US government was like, fuck it, man, go out there. And they would give people 160 acres of land for free or next to free. There was some conditions with it, like you had to stay out there for, I believe it was 5 years and improve the land to get the title for free, or you could stay for less time and you could pay for it. But that's why there's so many farmers out there, is because a lot of them, either they themselves moved out there or their parents moved out there. There's also a lot of like cattle ranching and overgrazing and things like that. So yeah, that's basically why the land out in like the middle of the country is just getting used and abused like nobody's business. So they did not have sufficient understanding of the plains. Farmers did deep plowing, which displaced the grass, like we said. And during the drought, the unanchored soil turned to dust. So because the soil's all loose, the wind can just pick it up and dry it out and turn it into dust. So these huge clouds that sometimes blackened the sky. So it would literally be daytime, you'd be chilling, and then it would just get dark outside and you're like, what the fuck? And it was a giant cloud of dust. They called them black blizzards or black rollers. They traveled across the country. They even got as far as New York City and Washington, D.C. They did not destroy those areas nearly as much because obviously it like loses a lot of dust on the way, but the air quality was not good because of this. They often reduced visibility to 3 feet, so you could only see 3 feet in front of you. Very fucking scary. And the Associated Press reporter Robert E. Geiger was in Boise City, Oklahoma to witness Black Sunday. This was April 14th, 1935, where there was like a huge dust blizzard, and they coined the term Dust Bowl in the news story. So that's kind of where we get that. So it has been the subject of many cultural works. This is a very famous photo, and then it's also the photo recolored. It was done by like an actual artist, not AI. So the Dust Bowl was depicted in The Grapes of Wrath. Dorothea Lange is a very, very famous photographer, and this is one of her most famous photos. It's called Migrant Mother. It is a 32-year-old woman named Florence Owens Thompson. She is the mother of 7 children. She was working as a pea picker in California during the Great Depression, and this photograph became a symbol for the hardships faced by migrant workers during that era, because naturally, when there's all this dust, a lot of people decided to leave. So you've probably seen this photo before. 7 kids. I know, there's only 3 in the photo. I don't know where the other ones are. And this only took them 60 years to destroy land indigenous people had cared for forever. Literally. Get off of her. Just 32. Just 32. She was just a fucking kid. Look at her. That is a tough 32. And I don't even mean that in a mean way, but like, I just mean she's seen some shit. 7 kids, migrant worker, living through the Great Depression Dust Bowl. Bruh, like, that is not good. It is not good. Things are not good. Her hair is so gorgeous. I wonder what, probably the natural oil. She probably can't wash it very often. People always ask me how I get my hair to grow long, and I think it's because I never wash it. I mean, I do. I do it like once a week, but sometimes it's really like dirty. Okay, so let's look at some maps. Today is very like map, memes, photos. We have a lot going on. So there's a couple different maps. The one on the left is where it's like really fucked up, and then the one on the right is the not as severe damage. So you can see like the red circle is areas that were damaged and affected, and then the brown circle is severely damaged. You can see the brown circle is a lot of like Texas and the little panhandle of Oklahoma. And then there's the little migration route. Naturally, a lot of people leave. That's what happens in climate crises. A lot of people leave. And then this is a more zoomed in map on the left where you can see the individual counties and which ones were affected the most severely. So Here are some pictures because I really just want to give you an image of how fucked up this was. Like, it literally was so bad. These people could not stay here. You cannot live here. It's not like these people were just like, I don't like dust. I want to leave. It's literally like not habitable. That used to be a wagon, I presume, because what happens is it's a giant cloud of dust. Eventually, the wind stops. So what happens when the wind stops? It all lands. People's houses would get crushed under the dust. It would have roofs cave in. It would destroy their cars. It would kill a lot of animals and a lot of livestock. All the crops are dead at this point, pretty much. Like the crops, look at them. Literally look at them. Look at them. Look at them. This is why when people watch the news and they're like, oh, it's America, they would never let that happen. It is nuts, and I'm glad we're talking about it. Here's another picture. Look at that fucking car. It's giving Ma and Pa. It's not good. This is what I thought quicksand would look like, but it's the inverse coming from the sky, if that makes any sense. I mean, I don't think I understand. I get it's world-ending sand in the sense that it's like quicksand, yes. One question I've had is, did they ever clean this all up with the dust, or what did they do with it all? I think like over time it just slowly improved. And then like more wind and rain would like wash it away. Like, Mother Nature is shockingly resilient. And I don't mean that in the sense that like she can handle all of the pollution we're making. What I mean is that when climate change gets so bad that all the people die, I think she'll rebound. Because like Mother Nature is surprisingly good at cleaning shit up. You know what I mean? These photos are scary. It doesn't seem real. It does not seem real, and it's very scary, and that's why I wanted to show you so many photos, because if I'm scared, then you're going to be scared. I know what's wrong with it. It got no gas in it. Like, I would be driving so fast. Look at it. Look how scary that is. It literally looks apocalyptic. Because it is. Like, this is something like the Bible. Here's another very famous photograph. I think I already showed you that one, but like, here's it bigger. People seem to think climate change will kill us quickly, but it will be so slow and painful. I was talking to my fiance about that the other day because we have a new HVAC that we put in. And I was like, yeah, I think that we'll definitely get like at least 10 years out of this HVAC, but in 10 years we'll probably have to upgrade. And he was like, you think it's only going to last 10 years? And I was like, no, I do think it'll last longer, but here's what's going to happen. A traditional residential AC can only make your house 20 degrees cooler than it is outside. I think 10 years from now, 110 is going to be a normal summer day. So like, we do not like sweating. We're going to want to get the new rich person commercial grade fucking amazing AC. I know us. And he was like, oh my God, you're so right. And that's really what it's going to be. And I was like, I'm just keeping in mind like my level of comfort that I like to maintain. And I feel like I'm literally, so that car is me running to make money, and the cloud is climate change, because I know that it's going to affect me in my lifetime. And I know that because we live into the society that we live in, income is going to be the biggest factor in how much it affects you. Isn't that the scariest thing? I think about stuff like that all the time, and people really dislike when I talk about it, but you guys eat it up, so that's perfect. This is Elkhart, Kansas. This is in 1937. It like out there is mostly rural, but there are cities. So we do have photos of this happening in towns, in cities. It wasn't just farms. I'm adapting now that it's just 83 in my apartment at all times. It's not scary because I'm an American. Thanks for keeping it real. It plagues me every day. Someone on TikTok was talking about how they couldn't get out of the drive through the storms, and then the roads were so undrivable. Yeah, and then storms are going to be a lot more erratic and like sudden, and like flash flooding is going to be worse. But let's talk about the climate horrors of the past. Maybe we can learn how to get through it. I live in a climate refuge in Minnesota. I feel like my house is really going to appreciate it. So here's another picture of it happening in a city. Again, it literally looks like an apocalypse. Absolutely horrifying. Like, bro, you look out the window and it's that? What do you mean? And then your boss would be like, hey, I saw that you went idle on Teams. I'm in Colorado. I'm cooked, y'all. This happens in Afghanistan, I believe. I know that desert climates experience dust storms, but from what I've heard, they're not as bad as this because they're like naturally occurring. So it like the landscape is more like ready for it, and like the architecture is more like set up for that because they're smaller and naturally occurring. This should not have happened. This was our fault. Because like I said, the drought really was like the straw that broke the camel's back. But I think if we had not been doing all the bad stuff, it would have been fine through the drought. Like crops wouldn't have been happening and it would have sucked, but not this bad. Because you have to think, indigenous people lived through droughts. It was thousands of years, you know? We had hazardous air quality today due to dust storms. I can't imagine that. This is beyond hazardous. I'm not meant to live an uncomfortable life or whatever she said on White Lotus. Exactly. And I think it's admirable that I have the self-awareness to say that. So people would put masks on their kids and send them to school. It was not good. Like shit was fucked up. Look at this. Look at this. And this is going to happen again. Get him inside. He doesn't even have a mask on. You see they have their hats on the kids because you would get blisters from the dust. It's really, really horrible. So naturally, a lot of people left. A lot of people were climate refugees and left. They were like, I cannot live through this. My farm is destroyed. I have no money. Literally, I cannot feed my children. Because you have to keep in mind, where are the Dust Bowl doubters at? Dust Bowl denier. Dust never happened. Never happened. It's a myth. It's a myth. But anyway, so a lot of people, it was not just like, oh, I'm not making any money. A lot of farmers fed their family from what they produced on their farm. So if all your crops are gone, you literally do not have food for your children and your livestock dies in the fucking dust. You don't really have a choice. It's either leave or die. And that's what it was for a lot of people. Was that picture the old equivalent of us filming something bad happening and not helping? Yeah, because some of those photos like families took and then a lot of them like journalists took. Because keep in mind, cameras were super expensive. So in 1935, many families were forced to leave their farms and travel to other areas seeking work because of the drought, which had already lasted 4 years at this point. There was, like I said, widespread hunger and poverty. The Dust Bowl conditions had an exodus that displaced people from the Texas, the Panhandle of Oklahoma, the surrounding Great Plains. More than 500,000 Americans were left homeless. More than 350 houses had to be torn down after one storm. That's not overall. That's just to give an example of one storm. 350 houses were destroyed. All those people have to go somewhere. So it's really not good. Lots of people were either homeless, either from the dust destroying their home or because the mortgage foreclosed on them. So a lot of people migrated west looking for work and food. This sounds like a slur, so I'm really sorry if it is. Jalopies? It's a car. I don't know. So that is like the old-timey car with their families, their personal belongings, and they headed west. Some residents even died because of pneumonia and malnutrition. I don't have exact numbers on death, but there were people that died, as you can imagine, I'm sure. These are the cars that sound like a slur. So you can see, like, literally, jalopy. Thank you. Imagine dust being your biggest op. No, literally. Yeah, a lot of people died. Starvation, dust inhalation, jalopy. Oh, there's discrepancies in the chat. So yeah, here's some pictures of some families packed up. They got soap. It's literally everything's tied to the car. This is my hell. This is literally my hell, actually. So these people are heading west to go to California to go look for work. Were they? Not a slur. It means a dilapidated car. So it is a slur. It's a slur for cars. I'm sorry. I just created an image in my head of character in the movie Cars. Like, I made up a new one. His name is Jalopy, and he is poor, and everyone bullies him for it. I should make Cars, but historical. So anyway, many Californians viewed the Dust Bowl migrants with suspicion and resentment because, keep in mind, it is literally the Great Depression. So, like, California is already dealing with unemployment and homelessness, And then now all these people are showing up like, hey, we're here now. So a lot of people feared that this would cause more unemployment. It would strain the very little relief that they had and would also cause social disorder with all of these migrants moving in. But some people were nice. Like always in history, you got to look for the kind people. Church groups, some unions, some civil liberties organizations were like, we should treat these people with respect. They should have rights. They are not criminals. Like, they're just trying to leave a bad situation. Public opinion was very divided, very similar to like migration. It's always divided. Some people are always welcoming. Some people are always very hostile. How dusty could it have been? Stay out migrants, basically. So they called them Okies. 3.5 million people left the plains. Not all of them went to California, obviously. But in 1 year, just 1 year, because keep in mind, this was going on for a while, 86,000 people moved to California. That's a pretty significant number. Just to give you context, that's more people than the 1849 gold rush. So when you think like, oh, everyone went to California for the gold rush, this is more people than that. So migrants abandoned farms in places like Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Texas, Colorado, and New Mexico. But they pretty much called all of them Okies. I guess the politically correct people also used Arkies and Texies. I have never heard that in my life. I've always just heard Okies. Someone put this in my comment section and I fucking screamed. This is one of the funniest things that anyone has ever done on my internet. People in California, wait, I don't understand. If you're not auditioning for Oklahoma, then why do you look like that? Because literally people would come from Arkansas and they were like, Okie, and the people would be like, I'm from Arkansas, and they were like, you don't look like it, you look like you're from Oklahoma. Maybe they should have just called them people, you know? Or like refugees, because that's what they are. That's literally what they are. They're climate refugees, some of the first ones in American history. Certainly will not be the last. A moment for the meme. I'm going to give you a moment for the meme. There are torrential downpours out here, and my AirPod fell in the water in a puddle. No! That's so sad. One time my student's AirPod fell in the toilet. I felt so bad for them, and they flushed it. They were like, I couldn't. I couldn't do it. Thank you for including this. I hadn't seen it in that comment. It's literally like the perfect fucking meme. So here are some pictures of people migrating. This is a family living in a trailer in an Arizona cotton field. People do not look good. And most of the people going had children because having starving children is very motivating, I hear. For your children to be starving, you'll pretty much do anything. So that photo on the left is another one from Dorothea Lange. This is a Missouri migrant family, and they are stuck near Tracy, California. So tons of people are moving in. Okay, that just didn't work. I had text there. I'll open it in another screen and just read it to you. Sorry about that. I did have something there. What slide is this? What are we on? 30 something? Merp. Oh no, I already told you that. How a lot of people were See, I told you there would be a couple mistakes tonight. A lot of people were hostile towards them, felt like they were going to increase unemployment. Some church groups and civil liberties groups were like, yeah, man, you can come here. It's fine. So let's look at some data. A 1939 survey by the Bureau of Agricultural Economics said that 116,000 families arrived in California in the 1930s. 43% of Southwesterners were doing farm work immediately after they migrated, and a third of them were professional or white-collar workers. Some farmers had to take on unskilled labor when they moved. Leaving the farming sector common led to greater social mobility. So a lot of people came and did farm labor, but other people came and got other jobs as well. Semi-skilled work, high-skilled migrants would basically, so like high-skilled would be like, let's say I'm a carpenter, like I know how to build houses. I probably can't get a job as a carpenter during the Great Depression. Maybe I can get a job doing like handyman work. So a lot of people have to downgrade. That's very common when you're a refugee. Like this is The same tale is being told many times throughout history. So after the Great Depression ended, some migrants moved back, but a lot of people stayed. About 1/8 of California's population is of Okie heritage. So now that I've given you 45 minutes of context, the main point of this, how did California's government respond? Here is a map of migration routes. Like I told you, not everyone went to California. People went to Kansas City, Minneapolis, Houston, Dallas. Lots of people, I'm sure, went to the East Coast as well. But California was the heavy hitter. California officials, including the Governor Frank Merriman and Los Angeles city leaders, expressed a lot of concern. They were like, okay, a lot of people are coming here. This might cause unemployment. It's going to strain charitable organizations, and there might be like social disorder. So they had a couple ideas that were being discussed when this started going on. One, seek federal help to limit the migration or provide aid. But keep in mind, the federal government doesn't really have any money either. Another was tightening local relief eligibility to discourage newcomers. So like, should we ask for local IDs in the food lines and things like that? And then another was having stronger vagrancy laws to target destitute migrants. So vagrancy means you're homeless, and that's illegal. So they were like, let's make more laws like that. So that's what was being discussed, and that's what was kind of like their response was, we don't love this. How can we avoid it? How can we make it a little less terrible? James E. Davis is entering the chat. This is the chief of the LAPD. He is originally from Missouri, and he had a background as a firearms instructor before he became an LAPD officer and rose through the ranks. He is known for a hardline militaristic approach to policing. Militaristic means you act like you're at war. He was focused on aggressive law enforcement and maintaining public order. I smell a new stream villain. Oh, Lemur Banana, your intuition is strong. He promoted arming officers heavily, because keep in mind, it's 1920. Arming police officers is like not the way it is today. A lot of them were armed, but not everyone. And guns like that were still like, gun technology was not what it is today. So he promoted arming officers heavily and using police force to protect Los Angeles from outside threats, including migrants. He did not like the migrants. He was very anti-migrant. When I Googled him to find a photo of him, this is what comes up. Absolutely perfect. Jesus Christ. I love that y'all are a little bit behind me, so I just have to wait for you to see it. Was this man himself not a migrant from Missouri? Phenomenal point. I had not thought of that. Phenomenal point. Phenomenal point. You migrated from Missouri, sir. Like, the first gun picture on the left is really the most jarring to me. America loves to fix our problems with more guns. Oh, they trusted this man? It gets worse. It gets worse. His nickname was Two Gun Davis because he openly carried 2 pearl-handled revolvers, your tax dollars at work, I assume, and promoted the heavy arming like we said. So his name is James Two Gun Davis. He portrayed himself as a tough, no-nonsense enforcer of law and order. Law and order. Law and order. We have to have law and order. New drag name. Rolls right off the tongue. Y'all are so fucking funny. Man, did you hear the thunder? He portrayed himself as a tough, no-nonsense enforcer of the law during perceived social unrest. So let's talk about his pre-Great Depression life. His first term as the chief of the LAPD was from 1926 to 1929. Why such a short term, you might ask? Because the department became notorious for protecting organized crime. Great. This is also Prohibition times. So they were protecting bootleggers, I presume. Also protecting illegal gambling and prostitution. So brothels. Davis was accused of shielding officers who took bribes and turning a blind eye to widespread corruption within the force. So, literally a criminal. Literally hired to uphold the law, enabled criminals. Perfect. He was also known for extreme brutality. Officers were implicated in beatings, illegal detentions, suppressing political dissent, and targeting labor organizers and left-wing activists. Absolutely incredible again. A series of exposés by the Los Angeles newspapers combined with public outrage over unchecked police misconduct forced him to resign in 1929. This resignation was a part of a larger reform effort to clean up City Hall and the LAPD during a period of intense scrutiny. This was also popular in the 1920s, like anti-corruption, because keep in mind, the Gilded Age with like your robber barons, your Carnegies, your Rockefellers was like the late 1800s. So there's a lot of political corruption. So the progressive movement in the 1920s, they were the ones being like, let's ban alcohol, let's end child labor, let's stop political corruption. Oh, this is so unfamiliar. Sweats nervously. We've made no progress in a century. He would fit right in today, unfortunately. He was born in Texas? Really? When did he move to Missouri? Like I said, if there's mistakes, sorry. So, time is a circle. Nothing changes. I hate it here. Despite this record, he was rehired as LAPD chief in 1933. He would be the Secretary of Defense. Why was he rehired? Why did we rehire the corrupt gambling prostitution guy? Why did we rehire him? Because Los Angeles business leaders and conservative politicians favored him because he was very hard on strikes, labor movements, and perceived radicals. Because when the Great Depression happened, a lot of people were like, oh my God, everyone's going to want to become a communist. Because think about it. Who is against communism? Rich people. Because under communism, rich people aren't supposed to exist. So if you have a bunch of cool stuff, you're like, communism sounds horrible. I love my cool stuff and my cool house. But if you are from Oklahoma, homeless in the streets, you're like, communism? I would get to eat? Not a bad idea. So that is part of the reason we would have like a Red Scare type shit. There was a Red Scare in the 1920s. This is still pretty fresh off of that. So because people were concerned that the Great Depression was going to like increase socialist, communist like desires within Americans, they were like, let's bring back Two Gun Davis with his pearl guns. Let's get him in here. I need some progressives to figure out mind control so we can have UBI in healthcare. So real. The Red Scare has done irreparable damage to us. A lot of people don't realize that the Cold War Red Scare was Red Scare number 2. Red Scare number 1 is right after World War I. So this is a little bit after that, but tons of people. Hello, government. It's the Great Depression. We need strong and compassionate leadership because we have a climate crisis and we're in the Great Depression. Ah! Not around here. No. Get away. Get away. So James gets reinstated. Best I can do is Two Gun Davis. Why is he pointing his gun at me again? In his defense, that is the same photo. But for there to only be 4 photos of you and 2 of them you're pointing a gun at the camera, I feel the right to use those photos however often I want. So he's the chief of the LAPD again. He's living his best life. Yeah. Cunty pose, though. So, now that he's in charge, he's like, you know what? Let's block the highway so that migrants can't come in. There was no state legislation or no federal legislation authorizing him to do this. But in 1936, he unilaterally ordered LAPD officers to set up roadblocks on Route 66. I would like to point out that this is not his fucking job. This is 200 miles away from Los Angeles. We're going to look at maps. He directed his officers to stop incoming vehicles, question travelers, and if he felt like they didn't have a job or they were poor, they were supposed to be blocked from entering the state and told to go turn around. And unilaterally means something that is done by only one person or group involved in a situation without the agreement of others. So, again, there is no law. There was no vote. He just, I guess, woke up one day and decided that this was the play. that he was going to do. I told you there were good memes tonight. This is from Parks and Rec. If you can't read it, this police officer is like, you can't have a picnic here. What are you doing? And Ron Swanson goes, not to worry. I have a permit. And the permit says, I can do what I want. So, incredible. Absolutely incredible. So, always a pretense. The effort began as an LAPD initiative to protect the public welfare and safety in Los Angeles. So they were like, we're just trying to protect Los Angeles. That's how it began. Normalize asking cops questions. Are you even supposed to be here if you're white? So there's not many photos of this because I guess when you set up an illegal roadblock, you're probably not going to bring the photographer. But this is the California border. This is a photo from UCLA. This is in 1936. Most of these migrants look black to me. I have a feeling racism was involved like it usually is in U.S. history. So let's look at some maps. Let's talk about the logistics. Number of officers. It was 125 officers. That is a lot of officers. You would think that maybe the officers should be, serving and protecting the people of Los Angeles. It would have been a better use of resources to put all those officers in a kitchen and have them make meals for the homeless. So they had a couple locations. Route 66 was one, US Highway 99 was one, and then towns along the border from Oregon and California, which is way the fuck up north. So let's look at some maps. This is a map of California. The red part is Los Angeles County. I think that's what it's called. That's the county Los Angeles is in. Because we're going to look at many maps of California. That is where Los Angeles is. Okay? It's in like the southern part of California on the ocean. If you're not familiar with California geography, that's where LA is. Great. So, here's Route 66 on the left. You can see it goes like from Los Angeles on the coast through California, right below Nevada, into Arizona. So, Needles, California was one of the biggest roadblocks. I would again like to point out the map in the middle shows Needles all the way on the east side of California. And then the map on the left shows Los Angeles all the way on the west side of California. I know the thunder is crazy. It's like coming down really hard. These are not close together. This is not within his jurisdiction. This is not legal for him to be doing this. It's actually insane that all of his officers followed it because it was fully illegal. This is in today driving. Cars go fast now. Back then, cars could only go about 25, 30, maybe 40 miles an hour. So it would probably take twice as long because there was also not as good of roads back then. It is, in today's cars, a 4-hour drive, 256 miles from Los Angeles. I've been to Needles. It's terrible. Listen, Needles has been through a lot, okay? So, again, not your job. Not where you want to be. These were some other locations that they had Border Patrol blocking people near Blythe and Yuma. This is on Highway 99. Blythe is 3 hours and 28 minutes from Los Angeles via new roads. So back then, probably more like 6. And then Yuma is 4 hours and 18 minutes. They were so pressed. And for what? Like, just welcome these people. How do we not understand how big this state is? And this is, someone earlier was like, why does California hate homeless people so much? I don't know if it's that California hates homeless people more than other states, because homeless people really are treated horribly by most states. I think what it is California historically has always had the like very inflated numbers of unhoused people living there. Because I'm going to be honest with you, if I ended up homeless, I would go to California because it is the most comfortable climate to live outside in the United States, in my opinion. So I know a lot of people who find themselves to be unhoused will scrape together money to take a bus there or hitchhike there or whatever. So that's part of why there's so many more people there, because again, like, it's camping essentially, and the weather there is just pretty mild and comfortable compared to like, so like I would always really feel for the unhoused people when I lived in Miami, because it would just be so hot sometimes, and then Miami has like really torrential downpours and flooding, so like that would be really tough, even though it doesn't really get cold there. And then you think about like in New York, it can be fucking freezing, and like there's no good place to be homeless, but California seems like a not as bad place as some others. This is what kills me. They were also in Ashland, Oregon and Medford, Oregon. That is the northern border of California. How the fuck and why the fuck was he all the way up there? In today's driving, that is a 10 to 11 hour drive. It must have taken them 2 days to get up there. I can't imagine it would be anything less in the 1920s. Your car can only go like 40 miles an hour. So I love a map moment. Let me know if we're feeling good about the maps. I can include that more. So like I said, it was inside California's border, but right on that border with that town in Oregon. They stopped vehicles for coming in. They turned back anyone that did not have proof of employment or proof of funds. And so Ashland and Medford, Oregon saw a massive increase in stranded migrants, because they were like, well, they're not letting us in. I guess we'll live here. So local relief agencies in that town had a huge demand for people that needed food and shelter and all of those things. And the Oregon newspapers really criticized the blockades. They said they are unfair, they are unconstitutional, and Oregon's, a lot of them formed charity efforts to help stranded families. So Oregon was like kind of on the right side of history with this, and Oregon just goes to show that like this was not widely accepted. It was not super popular. Like, people thought it was fucked up back then too. So what they would do is question the drivers, ask for money, and turn back anyone, or they would threaten them with arresting them. They'd be like, we'll arrest you for vagrancy or you can leave. And again, this is hundreds of miles outside of the Los Angeles city limits. This is completely outside of their jurisdiction and completely illegal. So these are some quotes I found. It was really hard to find good sources, so some of these were from like blogs and very old websites that had like copied them from books. Like, I was deep in the internet for this one. So if they are wrong or fake, I'm really sorry. I did my best. We came to the river at Needles and were stopped. The cops asked us if we had any money or work lined up. When we said no, they told us to turn around or go to jail. We camped there for 3 days trying to figure out what to do. It was like they thought we was criminals just because we was poor. So they're literally treating the people like criminals, and y'all saw the picture of them. So migrants reported being threatened with arrest. In several cases, the officers slashed their tires or forced migrant vehicles off the road if they tried to bypass the checkpoint. So if you tried to just like drive around the checkpoint and keep going, they would literally run you off the road. And this guy said, I seen a man get his tires cut so he couldn't drive no more. His kids was crying and all. How evil do you have to be to look at one of those fucked up ass jalopy, whatever they're called, cars full of starving children and slash their tires in the middle of the desert? Because these places are very sparsely populated. It's a border crossing. It's not like they're in a town where they can just go hop on the local trolley and get a good paying job with a pension. Like, you're fucked. You're literally just in the middle of the desert, fucked. Tons of people. Hello, I'm a climate refugee from Oklahoma. I would like a better life for my family. And yet again, no, they're not paying for the tires. I know you're joking, but still. Like, y'all, it's fucked up. It's fucked up. And I thought about, someone in my comment section was talking about migration from Mexico and how that was a whole thing in this time. I maybe will do another stream about that, because this was already so fucked up that I was like, we need to stay on topic with this. Because like it's just so bad. That pic needs a trigger warning. It's just so spooky. I wanted to use it as many times as I could. There are no verified records of them killing anyone. But like I said, you're not going to write it down. I think they probably killed someone. They did face physical intimidation, destruction of property, and a lot of them were illegally arrested. Again, these people had not committed any crime. They are literally climate refugees. I debated talking about the Dust Bowl as much as I did because I was like, should I just jump right into the LAPD stuff? But I was like, no. I really think that the audience needs to think about like who these people are when they're showing up. Because when you know what the years preceding this looked like for these migrants, it makes this so much more fucked up and so much more evil. So that's why I did spend 40 minutes showing you pictures of dust and talking to you about farming, because I think it's just important that like, oh my God. It's important that you know that like this was not the beginning of their suffering. Like these people were just, I just feel so bad for them. So what a lot of people did was they abandoned their cars and they walked. And just had to walk like hundreds of miles camping. We left the car and walked in, had no choice. The kids was hungry. This storm is crazy. I'm sure y'all can hear it. I feel like it's really fitting for what we're talking about, even though it was a drought. Hey, I'm a climate refugee. I have nothing. You have tires. Like, it's not enough to threaten them with arrest. You have to fucking slash their tires. What is this? Your thunder and my thunder are blending together. The thunder is angry about him too. Walking with children through a desert. And like, I'm going to show you the pictures again so you can see whose tires are getting slashed. That's whose tires are getting slashed. Yep. That's whose fucking tires are getting slashed. This is who the LAPD is looking at and being like, fuck you, slash your tires, arrest your husband, turn around, get the fuck out of here. Which is absolutely, absolutely insane. Is that where I was? Yeah. Literally families with nothing. Families with nothing. Nothing. So, newspapers criticized them. The LA Times and the San Francisco Chronicle ran editorials that were very critical. They said that this was an overreach. Headlines described the roadblocks as un-American and compared them to tactics being used in totalitarian regimes, which were on the rise during this time. And some California legislators expressed concern that the LAPD was making the entire state look hostile and lawless. But did the governor send anyone in to stop them? No. So clearly you weren't that against it. And again, some legislators, like, if you're a congressperson of California, you don't really have a way to stop this either. And this is a quote from the San Francisco Chronicle in 1936. California is building walls where none should exist. So true, bestie. So, public opinion was very divided. Like I said, lots of businesses were very supportive of this. Lots of rich people were very supportive of this. Lots of business leaders were very supportive of this. Political leaders were even very supportive of this. Because what was happening is James Two Gun Davis was willing to be the bad guy. Like, I think a lot of California leadership was thrilled that he was doing this. And they were like, thank God we didn't have to. Because remember how earlier I was talking about how the California lawmakers were discussing like asking federal aid, putting in restrictions, like they didn't really know what to do. I think when this guy just went out there and did it, they were like, everyone ignore it. Like, let him do the dirty work. Let him be the bad guy. Let him be the one outside of his jurisdiction. Like, fuck it, man. So lots of people, especially journalists, are writing about this. A lot of church groups and unions very much spoke out about this as well. They said that these tactics were wrong, they were inhumane. So public sympathy started to grow because, again, these are families with fucking nothing. And then some of the people that walked in were like, that was fucked up. And people were like, what was fucked up? And they're like, LAPD is 200 miles away from here. And this is a clergy statement. Clergy is like a church person, I think for Catholic, that was in the LA Times in 1936. These are Americans being turned back as if they were criminals. And again, they're not criminals. I don't think it should matter that they're Americans. I think you should never treat anyone this way. But it's like really not good. So this is an example of a billboard that was put up. This was very common. This little post is blocking it, but it says 6 men for every job, no something relief available for non-residents, keep out, no jobs in California. If you're looking for work, keep out. Jobless men, keep going. We can't take care of our own. From the Chamber of Commerce. So when I say that the government was like ignoring this because I think a lot of them were cool with it, is my opinion. Because like the Chamber of Commerce put up this sign. When did unions form during this time? I know it's post steel mills, so unions are still new, right? Not, sorry, not brand new. Oh, I actually have it on a timeline in my office. Some of the most famous unions were formed in like 1869, 1870s. So unions at this point have been around for about 60 years. So they're not brand new, but they're relatively new. Unions took a big hit during the Great Depression because part of what makes a union powerful is when all the workers are a part of it. So when everyone's unemployed, it's really easy to find workers that aren't in the union. So unions lost power because the economy was really, really bad, but they did still exist at this time. And at this point, I would say like they were pretty solidified in American society. They'd been around consistently for over 50 years. So the ACLU mobilizes. Another thing about time being a circle, the ACLU is going to stand up for us. Okies, more like brokies, move along. God. So the ACLU publicly condemned the LAPD's actions. They said this is a clear violation of constitutional rights. An ACLU statement from 1936 said the right to move freely between states is guaranteed to all Americans, and the LAPD is trampling on that right. So the ACLU worked to identify families so they could sue. This is how the ACLU works. They identify people that they can give free legal assistance to in order to file a lawsuit to challenge some sort of issue where people's rights are being violated. So they were trying to find families being like, we want to help you. They also sent letters of protest to the governor, the California Attorney General, and federal officials demanding intervention. Because again, this is literally just so fucking illegal. Nowadays, they say nobody wants to work anymore while kidnapping and terrorizing immigrants who work so hard, literally. Actually, you're right. The California Okies, more like brokies, might have to be chat of the night. Let me screenshot that. Perfect. Great. I think it said no state relief. Oh, I think you're right. ACLU having to say the same things in 2025. No, for real. Like they're doing the Lord's work over there at ACLU. So, political challenges. Because they received complaints from so many people, some legislators argued that the LAPD's actions invited lawsuits. So some legislators were like, hey, this makes us look real fucking bad as a state and a people. So if you could stop doing that, that would be cool. So the California state legislature was debating proposals to clarify jurisdiction and stop local agencies from enforcing border patrols. What I'm confused about is, what do you mean clarifying local jurisdiction? He's outside of Los Angeles. Like, what is there to clarify? Like, what are we confused about? Because I'm not confused. It doesn't seem like he's confused. Like, why did we need a debate about it? That's what I just call him and be like, fuck off. Like, who's his boss? He has to report to somebody. So lots of other groups started putting pressure as well, including Catholic and Protestant leaders. They denounced the blockades. They said this is unchristian. This is unjust. The unions went after them for targeting poor working class families rather than focusing on real crime, because as you can imagine, when many people are starving, crime increases because people will rob someone to feed their children, and low-key, I get it. So people in LA were like, hey, we kind of have a lot of crime and issues here. If you maybe wanted to turn around and come home, that would be cool. And so petitions circulated in Los Angeles and Sacramento. I believe Sacramento is the capital, so that's where like the government is. And they demanded that the roadblocks end. So the public reaction to this was like, not very positive. The rich people liked it, but the general public was like, what the fuck? And this is a quote from, again, a clergy group in the LA Times. They said, "To shut out the needy and hungry is to betray our American ideals." Because you know how on the Statue of Liberty it says, like, give me your hungry, give me your poor, give me your tired, huddled masses. I don't think I said that right, but I think you know what I'm talking about. So they're still doing it, but people are starting to be upset about it. So, not good. People are mad. Tensions are high. The case building. The ACLU and the National Lawyers Guild is still trying to build a case. However, a lot of the migrants don't want to join because when you are fighting every day to feed your children, you're not going to be like, yeah, I do want to come to a meeting at the courthouse where I don't receive any money. So it was very, very difficult to take legal action because they were fearful of retaliation. They couldn't afford legal fights because even though the ACLU works for free, you have to take time off work, if you have work, to go deal with the shit. Like, people just didn't have time for this. And so a lot of people were very reluctant to participate. A lot of people also had a lot of distrust to the legal system and the government and lawyers and all of that. It was really not good. But regardless, they did gather affidavits and testimony from people that were turned away or harassed. So even though it was super hard, they were still able to try and build their case and get going somewhere with this. So mid-1936, and again, it started in 1936, so this was not a super long-term thing that was going on. Legal petitions were filed in California courts asserting that the LAPD had acted illegally by operating outside city limits and denying U.S. citizens the right to enter the state. And a California Superior Court found that the LAPD did not have the legal authority to operate on the state highway or police the entry into California. So it never even went up to the Supreme Court because when it was filed in California, the California court was like, that is illegal and you need to stop. So even though there was no landmark Supreme Court case, the local court decision forced the LAPD to halt the blockades because, again, the California Superior Court, like, if they say you got to stop, and then it wasn't further challenged after that. So, like, not the most dramatic end in the world, but I think this goes to show, like, why the ACLU is really important, why knowing your rights is important, why knowing who has jurisdiction where is important, because, like, I was really excited to talk about this, and we're not done, by the way. We're not done. There's still more to talk about. I'm excited to talk about this because I think this is in a weird way, it's a hopeful example to me, because this is an example of someone who is evil, a fascist probably, and very unethical, doing something illegal and wrong. And even though it took time, even though people got hurt in the process, even though it was fucked up, eventually the legal system worked and stopped it. And to me, that's very hopeful because I think, like, it goes to show that, like, so many of the horrible things that we're living through right now, it doesn't feel it when you're in it, but, like, it will have an end date. I don't know when, and I don't know how, but, like, it will eventually change. Hopefully. So that's why I like to talk about this, because I was like, this is a crazy-ass person doing crazy illegal shit, and they actually had to be stopped. So the blockades began in early 1936, and then they were mostly dismantled by the summer of 1936. So they only went on for about 6 months. Oh my God, from Ireland? Hi. I'm a teacher, and I really want to push how important it is to know your rights because it always comes up. If you're going through hell, keep it going. One of my favorite sentiments that I say to myself all the time, because it's so annoying but so helpful, is the only way out is through. Like, whenever I'm, like, stressed about something or having a bad time or something bad happens to me and I literally just want to, like, lay down and cry and not do anything, I'm like, the only way out of it is to keep going and working and, like, keep trying things to get better. Like, that's the only way out of it. Like, action, even though it's harder, is going to make you feel better than inaction. And, like, I think one of the most important things about being a human being and being happy and furthering society is to do things in the service of others and in the service of yourself. I think both of those are equally important. I think when you can't have one or the other, you have to have both. Like, you have to do things to help others and serve others, and you have to do things to help yourself and serve yourself. Both of them are critically important to living a happy life and like getting through adversity, in my opinion. And then this is another quote from that article in San Francisco. We are not a closed state. We have no walls at our border. And then the political pressure made the operation untenable. Like, people were just pissed. People were pissed. Oh my God. Okay, Ireland. I've been following you on TikTok since lockdown times. I've learned so much about American history from you. It's so interesting. You have such a way of, such a gripping way of explaining things. Your students don't know how lucky they are. Thank you. And you're right. They don't. So the federal government's quiet role. FDR was the leader at the time. It's 1936. He did not take direct action. He did not send in the military. He did not send in the National Guard. He did not write an executive order or anything. Like, he was like, But apparently, he quietly encouraged California to end the illegal blockades. So what I'm going to hold true in my heart is that if they hadn't, he would have done something. Because again, it was only going on for 6 months. 6 months is a long time, but it's also not that long of a time for something unethical to be going on. Think about like the Japanese internment camps, like other horrible things that the US government or its entities have done. Went on for a long time. The reservation system. So like 6 months for the courts to step in and stop it, to me, is like, kind of like I said, a hopeful story in a way. And the reason that FDR was like, hey, please stop that, he was worried that the blockades contradicted federal relief efforts. Because keep in mind, this is like during the New Deal. So the New Deal officials were like, we're trying to move people around with the CCC. Like, we're trying to rebrand the government, basically, because people fucking hated the government during this time, because the government allowed the Great Depression to happen. The government allowed unemployment to reach 25%. The government allowed children to die in dust storms and veterans to be shot at and people to lose all of their money with no protection. So FDR was like, we need to be building trust. That was a big thing. That's why he did the fireside chats, because he was like, I want people to have faith in the government and I want people to trust the government. And you have to build trust. And I can see that this would very much violate the trust being built or attempting to be built. So that's why he was kind of like, hey, cut that shit out. The US government will be like, whoa, these are white people. Exactly. I think it also, in the picture, there were a fair amount of black migrants as well, but it was a lot of white migrants. And I think that if this had only been people of color, it probably would have gone on for a lot longer, just like it's the 1930s with what we know about the US government. So even though it ended, there was not accountability for it. No LAPD officials were prosecuted. No one was formally disciplined, and Chief James Two Gun Davis remained in this position for another 3 years after this, until 1939. So things could be better. Things could be worse. They did stop them. But things could also be better, because that's not... Like, what do you mean he remained in his... Like, he broke the law. But I guess he had already broken the law. Like, I guess if the prostitution and gambling wasn't a deal breaker, why would this be? The LAPD's bum blockades are now seen as an example of unconstitutional internal border control in U.S. history. There are not a ton of examples of internal border patrol or internal border control in U.S. history, but this is one of the few that we got, and I think it's just a crazy-ass fucking story. Maybe they took away one of his guns. They're like, now you're James One Gun Davis, okay? So just a reminder, this beautiful sentiment on my screen. Again, we're criticizing a system, not your individual dad or brother or whatever, but also you should probably talk to them because they did agree to be a part of the system, so I stand by what I said. A clip of me. I'll put it in my notes app so I can go see it after we're done here. I hate, like, I don't want my voice to, like, echo on the mic, you know, it'll sound very strange. So yeah, crazy ass story of California Border Patrol, crazy ass story of unconstitutional shit, crazy ass story of, I guess, how the courts ended up rocking with it. And I already kind of told you what we're doing next week, but again, probably should have done these in a different order. We're going to be talking about the rise of conservatism in the 1970s and kind of some of the societal transitions we had in the 1970s. I hope that you are enjoying our more history vibe. I always like to do history in the summer because it's like easier for me. Because I feel like I do a bad job of doing history. Like if I taught all day and then I come with y'all, it's really hard for me to like express my opinion. Like I'm just in the mode of being like unbiased. So that's why I like to do it in the summer where I'm just like kind of living. What else was I going to say? So like I said, next week we're doing the rise of conservatism in the 70s. The week after that, it will be a little bit historic. We're going to learn about Waffle House, the history of Waffle House, their storm preparedness. Waffle House can operate with no water and no electricity. Isn't that fucking crazy? So yeah, next week we're going to be learning conservatism, and then the week after that we'll be learning about Waffle House. Let me pull up our little game. Oh, y'all love the history. This was so relevant and informative and fun. I felt like this was the perfect topic where I was like, I really feel like I can discuss this with the level of detail it needs. Like it's very niche, it's very specific that I felt like I truly did not leave anything out. If anything, I felt like some parts were a little redundant and I said the same thing twice, but I just felt like this topic was like perfect. I did not know about this until very recently. There's a history podcast I listen to sometimes when I'm cleaning. Let me find it. It's one of the big ones. Like, it's not anything niche. It's one of like, and like a lot of their episodes you have to pay for. I don't pay for it. I only listen to the free ones. But it's from the American Scandal people, American History Tellers. I love that podcast. They're the ones that I listened to their multi-part series about the Great Depression, and there was like a 10 or 15 minute part that they talked about this. And I was like, I want to know more about this. And then I did the research and made this. Yes, Missy Finn, this is every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, I am on here. So that's where I first heard about it when I listened to that podcast a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I just think it's crazy as fuck. And it's a good podcast. What I will say that I like about this podcast, honestly, if I had like kids that were aged like 10 to 12, like that age, I would play this for them in the car because it's not recorded like a podcast. They have voice actors and like sound effects. Like when they're talking about the Dust Bowl, you could hear the wind and stuff. It reminds me not of a podcast, but of I don't know if you guys had these as kids. They were books, but they came with CDs of someone reading the book with like sound effects and different voices and stuff like that. That's more what it was. It's called American History Tellers, and the one that I learned from, they had a series about the Great Depression. It's the Wondery podcast people. Lots of money. Some of their stuff is behind a paywall, but like it's very professional. You can tell their researchers know what they're doing. The hosts know what they're doing. They also have the American Scandal podcast, which I really enjoy. But let me get our little Nearpod going for y'all. If you're new here, at the end of each stream, we play a game about what we learned. It's like very casual and a fun time, and it's just some questions about what we talked about. It's not punitive or like a test or anything, but some people do get stressed about it. Wondery, boo. Yeah, are they bad? It's like cereal. I'm loving this history lesson. I thought this was a good one, y'all. Which theme should we do? None of these are really Dust Bowl. I guess Himalaya is closest. We'll do that one. Okay. There you go. Get rid of that. Boom. It's a test for me. That's how soap operas started on the radio. Exactly. That's what it's like. That's what it reminds me of too. So the directions are on the screen. I'll put the link in the chat as well. You can do this on your phone. You don't have to do it at all. You can see the questions on my screen if you just want to like pretend again. The podcast was American History Tellers. Dramatized audiobooks. Wondery is owned by Amazon, but isn't everything. Oh my God, of fucking course they are. So anyway, you can join this little game. You do not need your email. You do not need to pay money. You do not need an app. You do not need an account. I will not get your data. If you enter your name, it will come up on my screen. So maybe enter something funny if you don't want that to happen. If your name autofills, I'm really sorry. It's your phone. No, you do not need an account for Nearpod. If you just go to join.nearpod.com, you can put in the code and then it'll just pop you right in. It gives you the option to create an account. You do not have to. You do not have to create an account. What was I about to say? Imagine a Dust Bowl Nearpod theme. If Nearpod had hired me the 3 times I applied, we would have it. I guarantee that. It would be done. 1 gun, 2 gun, red gun, blue gun is the funniest person here. Oh my god, someone made that their name? That's hilarious. Oh, you get to pick a little character. Some people like to create an account because you get better characters. So I will say that. I have a pimple. I feel it. Libra Banana, of course it's you. And if you're like, I've seen what I've needed to see, I don't give a fuck about this game, feel free to head on out. But we do have a time at the end where you can submit memes, so you'll miss that. My head hurts. I'm hungry. I kind of want a hot dog. When do you think your real estate video will be done? I'm anxiously waiting. Not yet. I need to get Mr. Redacted to help with the finance part of it, but I like wrote out everything we're going to talk about, or that I'm going to talk about in it. What's coming sooner is the vlog from Nashville. That I just finished editing. So the real estate one is the next on my list. I'll give people a few more minutes to join. How has summer break been? I've been moving. Oh, I'm booked and bothered. Not really bothered. A lot of it's been good. Also, because like we just got this house, I've been really focused on that. It's been really good though. I can't believe it's like already half over. What do you mean? 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 Because I have like some school shit in like the next couple weeks that we have to do like these fucking, you'll know, it's like, oh, this training on this day. And then there's the pre-service week and all of that. It's a lot. It's a lot going on. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start the game. No one's joined in a few minutes. If you have not joined, you're having technical issues, whatever, it will let you join late. Will you win? Probably not, but you can play. First apartment alone, congratulations. That's something I never accomplished. Always had roommates or then moved in with him. So you accomplished something I never did. We go back August 22nd? That's so late. I guess I have been out. We had a couple days after Memorial Day and then we were out. When do I go back? Like the first week of August. Double right answer. I tried to limit the number ones, but there are a few, but I tried to pick the easier numbers. Should I get John from John and Kate Plus 8 to DJ my wedding? Yes or yes? We only got out June 16th. That's late. I don't know how y'all do that. Yes and yes. Have you ever done a stream about OSHA or labor laws? Not directly. I did a stream about the labor movement, but not really like specific laws or anything about OSHA. It's raining again. It stopped and then it started again and there's leaves flying everywhere. Spooky. Dustvilson. I hope Vicky Gunvalson's having a good day. Even though she's a Republican. I always forget that. These answers are long. Sorry about that. One thing about my neighborhood, it has really good drainage. Because there's like, every time there's flash flooding alerts, it's like not here. Like it'll be for like our county, but like never around here is it even like pooling up. But we also have like a big storm drain that goes into like a creek. So I think that's why. And then it's like, there's like a lot of grass so it can rise up pretty high. She's having the best time. Republicans love the 4th. Also, my new washing machine gets here on Thursday. I finally got like a good one because ours broke for the 2nd time and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. Sorry, I'm stalking people on Instagram. I keep forgetting the 4th is coming up and I hate fireworks so much. That's one thing that's very Republican about me is I fucking love fireworks. I love fireworks. And I'm sorry to dogs, babies, the elderly, people with PTSD. Do I light off fireworks? No. Am I gonna sit my ass down and watch them? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I like the drone shows more. Understandable take. For me, part of what I love is the loud ass noise and watching it explode. Like, the adrenaline just gets me going. I like it. Which is interesting because normally I do not like large crowds or noise. But for some reason when it's fireworks, I eat it up. And again, am I setting them off? No. But I'm watching them. I love watching them. And the hotel I used to work at was on a lake, and we did fireworks once a week, which is fucking horrible for the environment. And every time I would eat it up, like literally every single week. I was like, Gracie, Brokey Okie, Dustvilson, Trash Sunsets, Gin Pixie, One Gun, Two Gun, Red Gun, Blue Gun, Ava, Richu Pichu, Singing and Writing, Cowboy Girl, Amanda, Kamika, Two Gun James, Sam, Addie Day, Olive Oil, Two Guns McGee, A Lizard Beth, It's Not Clocking to You That I'm Standing on Two Guns, Meg's iPhone, Kayla, an NB parking lot, Sarah, Angel, Addison, and another NB parking lot. Looks like they had to rejoin, but nice job. Any memes, anything I missed, anything we want to share, and congratulations to our winners. We love it. Chat of the night and 3rd place. What a time to be alive. Standing on Two Guns. Who is that? I'll hang out for a couple minutes. I'll wait for your memes. But thank you so much for being here. Always the highlight of my week. Excited to talk about horrible things next week in the 1970s and the rise of conservatism. This is when they started working on overturning Roe v. Wade. They've been working for years and they did it, those fuckers. And then the week after that, we'll talk about Waffle House and it'll be a grand old time. She should be popping bottles of ice like a blizzard. Oh, migrant mother, California. Who are you people? Oh, y'all are so fun. You keep me young. Should I have Fruit Loops or a hot dog? You know what? Fuck it, both. Dinner of the Champions. You passed your TPA? Nice. Nice job. Good work, everybody. What a great time. I don't know if y'all saw my video the other day. My certification finally fucking processed. And I have like the high level renewable masters reflected, like a good ass certification. Also California. Dustfulson, I'm trusting you. I'm hesitant to open YouTube, but I'm trusting you. Oh, Brokey. I actually can't play this because I've gotten in trouble for copyright music before, but I do greatly appreciate your joke and that it was not inappropriate. Adding it to the Hinge profile? Please do! Please! Please! And send me a screenshot, please! I never wish I was single because I'm like so deeply loved, but that made me be like, oh my God, that does need to be on a dating app. Oh my God. Could the Great Depression can't possibly get any worse? Dust. Jobless men keep going. We can't take care of our own is gold. Absolute gold. Incredible, incredible gold. Oh my God, that was so fucking funny. That needs to go on the fucking thumbnail too. Nice. I sent the other Euphoria meme on TikTok. California governor and rich people, James E. Davis, fuck you. We just want to work and feed our kids. Yes, y'all are so funny. I knew there would be a lot of good memes tonight. The memes are memeing. This storm is crazy. Weak men create hard times. Jesus Christ. Oh. Alrighty. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you next week. I'm afraid of the rain. Love you so much. Good night. Bye. Thank you. This was a really good week. Go